Hi, everybody. Hassan Shariq, regulated Canadian immigration consultant, back with our weekend live session. Very warm welcome to all of you from wherever the world you're tuning into this. And this particular session, I have a couple of guests with me. I extended this invitation to a lot of people in our last session, where I would want all the people who are doing their Canadian immigration process by themselves, and are anywhere in the process to join me in these weekly sessions and share their experience. So one of my regular attendees, Mr. Arjun and his wife, they volunteered for it, and this week we will have, in this session, we will have them join us. I'm doing this thing for the first time, so yes, let me unmute you. Hi, Arjun.
Hi, Shariq. How are you?
Seems to be, I can't hear you, Arjun.
You can't hear me?
Just check in your settings. Maybe the mic that you're using is it?
Mic is on.
Wait. Yeah, maybe if you can yeah, use the earplugs.
Yeah. Hi, Shariq. Can you hear us? Hello.
Sorry, folks. None of us is a techie, and we're doing this for the first time, so there might be. Arjun, you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
You can hear me, but we can't hear you. So what we'll do is that probably I'll remove you from the stream once.
Can you hear now?
Back. Because maybe it's the settings with your mic.
Okay. Fine. Hello?
No, we still don't have your sound.
Okay. Let me just check at my end.
I'll do you once, and then you can join in again. Sorry, folks. Technology. We will sort this. There's always that first time, and then you get to have these troubles. But I really wanted to share the journey that Arjun and Bhumika have had so far. Just to mention over here, they're not my clients. They're not in any paid engagement with me. They are they're just like yourself. They are attendees of my session, and they're doing their process themselves. But Arjun has been regularly attending the session and asking me questions and stuff, and now he is at a stage where I just okay. Saad, that's good to know. So then probably the problem is at my end, where I don't have a. Yeah, I think that's a. Okay, Arjun.
Hi, Shariq. Can you hear us?
The problem is actually at my end. The viewers mentioned that they can hear both of us. It's me. So probably it's this the mic at my end. So we'll work it out.
No problem.
Yeah. All those who are listening, if you can confirm if you can hear Arjun and Bhumika, just say hello, Arjun.
Hello, hi everyone.
Okay, so all of us can be heard. So as I was mentioning, they're in this journey. They're doing the process themselves. By no means that they're my clients or anything. But Arjun, who was a regular attendee, and the other day we talked, and there was some fun stuff as well that we discussed. He has been asking me the questions and stuff, which I've been answering, and now they're at a stage where they have their ITA. They're very close to submitting their documents. It's been a bit of a struggle for them, where they've had to do a lot of stuff over and over again. So I just wanted for them to come on this session and share their story with all of you. What they did, what were the troubles, and where they stand now. So I'll hand it over to you two. First of all, congratulations! You have the ITA, and I believe in just a few days you will be submitting your PR application. You are federal skilled worker category applicants, right? So just briefly tell us all about how long has it taken, who's done what, who's the primary applicant, how many times was the IELTS to be done. Let's share the journey.
So thank you so much, Shariq, for having us here online on your channel. We had been following you since months together. And honestly, our journey, most of the part of our journey, we had got guidance from Shariq. And I am the primary applicant. He is the secondary applicant. But the entire process is carried forward by my husband. So I'm going to give it over to him and he will continue with our journey.
Thank you, Shariq, for having us here. So as my wife told us that she's the primary applicant, we started our journey in the month of September 2019, wherein we thought of applying for Canadian PR. The initial stage was the ECA report, and we applied it through WES because we knew that this is something which is beyond our control, and IELTS and other documents are still we can still manage at our end. So it took us around about 3.5 months to get the WES report after getting the rejection twice or thrice from WES, because that time they were not attending anyone through online source. They were only attending the physical applications, that too sent by the institution directly. So my wife is an MBA. She got a dual degree, which is one year of diploma plus graduation status from WES. And then we thought that, we were at a score of 452. So we thought 452 will be sufficient. I added 14 points. I can only add 20 points, out of which I added 14 points. We thought that 452 will be sufficient because looking at the previous year's trend, the score went down till 413 also, and then it remained between 440, 445. So we thought 452 will be sufficient when we started. But then at the beginning of the year, when we got the WES result in January, the score was at 471, 472. Then we used to feel really disheartening, and we used to feel really depressed. Looking at there's a difference of 10 points, and after that we thought that I'll take up my WES again, and I also added 8 points out of 10. That moved our score to 460. Again, we are short of points. Then what do we do? In the month of March, COVID happened, and there were CEC draws and PNP draws. So we had nothing. We were nowhere closer to the PR ITA, and we were just waiting what to do. One day I was watching your session only. I think somebody asked you a question: where should we get our ECA done? And you only answered that there may be a possibility that IQAS may give you a MBA if you are an MBA. WES is a little strict among giving the ECA report. Then we thought in the month of August 2020, we thought that we will go with ECA. Let's take that risk because 7 points matters a lot in our case. We'll move to 467. We were at 460. We'll move to 467 if we get the master's degree. Simultaneously, I started preparing again for IELTS, knowing that I only added 14 points. So it's better to increase it. I can add 20 points. I know that I had that window. So I took IELTS again in the month of September, and luckily I was able to add 4 more points. So then we moved to 464 because the IELTS result came in 4 5 days. Okay, and our IQAS was still pending. In the month of October, the score went down to 471, and we were waiting for our IQ degree. There was the score was 471, I think, on the 14th of October, and before that, at the end of September, 30th September. So, and right after that, that French thing came up, 478. So again, we lost hopes. And suddenly, on the 25th of November, there was a surprise draw wherein both of us were sitting outside in a restaurant. And we got to know that the result is there and we got the ITA.
Yes.
So,
Ajal, if I may ask, what was the lowest point till now? Till now, what was the lowest point where you were like, oh, this is like.
I was confident since very beginning. My wife is like that. I mean, I am a little, positive
I
thinker.
am a little pessimist about things around.
my wife always used to say, we'll not get it. We are just trying. We'll not get it. Don't even think about it. But I was the one who always believed that if we will try, I mean, obviously she also believed that, but looking at the, current structure of score and the number of people in the pool, it was, we thought it will be a little difficult. And finally, after getting the ITA, the feeling was, everything turned up. And now that we are all the questions which I have been asking you since last 6-7 months, now I'm working on all of those.
Yeah. Okay. So now you are at a stage where you're almost done with most of your documentation post ITA. Just if you would, if you could list or share what are the standard documents that people have to submit at the stage of ITA, like you being as and also because a lot of people are, it's married couples. So in terms of what documents the two of you have had to obtain and submit.
Okay. So firstly, after getting the ITA, there is a form wherein you have to fill in your personal details again, and you should have your 10 years of history readily available in your hands. You have to punch in all the details wherever you have traveled. I mean, luckily we have not traveled much out of India, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. But you'll have to punch in the details of the last 10 years. After that, it'll take you to the upload page wherein you have to upload all the documents. And as a documentation, from the documentation perspective, you have your police clearance certificate. So the police clearance certificate is required for both for both of us because we lived in 2 countries for more than 6 months. And anybody who has lived for more than 6 months in any of the country, it is mandatory to submit the PCC as a record of your criminal record of yours on the portal. Other than that, the educational documents, which the details you only have to punch in the details before getting the ITA. Now that you have to prove that these are your educational credentials, you have to submit your copy of ECA, your IELTS copy, like in our case we have MBA. So MBA, mark sheets, degree, and as a primary applicant. Simultaneously, if you have claimed points for secondary applicant, then the secondary applicant will have to undergo the same process in terms of ECA. Other than that, the PCC is required for both of us. Then work experience. Work experience matters in the case of primary applicant because you claim points for it. So whatever points you have claimed, you have to prove the IRCC that these are the backups. Now is the time to create the backup. And you have to mention it in a specified format which is there in the IRCC portal. So referring to that, you have to create it's better to create it yourself. We created it ourselves and submitted it to the organization so that they can only properly stamp it and give it to us. That is what we did. And other than that, the medical proof is required that both of us are medically fit to go there. Digital photograph in a specified format which is given on the IRCC portal. and letter of explanation is important. So in our case, letter of explanation is very important because both of us have lived in two countries, and in this country where we are living right now, Oman, we don't have the reference letter available for my wife. She's the primary applicant, and she doesn't have a reference letter. But in the previous country, India, we have the letter for 4.5 years, which makes us eligible for claiming the points. So we'll have to explain our case in the letter of explanation. That is a very important document in our case. So these are the documents which I can recall. I don't have a system in front of me right now. Recall.
Yeah, fair enough. And also because you guys have mentioned that although you're not an expert at that, but with experience you become an expert. You've sat the IELTS a few times. Any tips that you would, because that's a major stumbling block for a lot of people. Any tips from the pros?
Okay, so IELTS is something, if you give it your best, you may just clear it at your first attempt itself. And for IELTS also, we did not go for any external training or something. We just did it all by ourselves. For whatever online material we had, we referred to that, we practiced. And he was not willing to firstly take up the IELTS. I was the one who was supposed to take up, and I knew that I had to somehow score 8,777. So in my first attempt, I could not clear just because I was falling short of half a point. Otherwise, perhaps I could have cleared IELTS in my first attempt itself. And once I missed that, the next two attempts were the real, kind of a task for me. Sometimes you might find it difficult. Maybe listening, there are 3-4 sections. Sometimes listening comes out very easy, and you might get stuck with reading section of IELTS. As such, I did not face any difficulty ever with reference to writing and speaking skills of IELTS. But whenever my reading was my weakness, so that is where I was losing my points. And one fine time it happened that the third attempt of IELTS was on 7th of December. And that examination was very pathetic. I knew that I will never score 8,777 with that IELTS. So he was there to motivate me. And yeah, we took it together. And he was saying that if your score is going to be this bad, I don't know where am I going to land up. So, and I was quite angry with the way it was going, because if I'm getting stuck with IELTS, perhaps the entire process is getting stuck. So I was losing my patience, to be honest. And later on, over a period of time, after maybe 1 or 2 days, he just suggested that you were so prepared and you had been doing your practice and all, why don't you just give a random attempt? And fortunately, we did not have to wait for the examinations to be booked. We get it easily. So we got it booked for 4 weeks. It was immediately 1 week after the and that was the time I gave it this attitude that no matter what, I'm just going to give it. Even if I'm going to score, I'm not going to regret it. And with that attitude, I gave the IELTS, and I could crack, and I scored 8,777. So this is what I would say, that maybe there are times that you will feel that no matter what you are doing, you are putting your best in it, but it is not your effort which is lacking. Maybe it is just that smallest of the error you don't know while you're attempting IELTS, right. And that is what might not help you score your points. So I did not really feel it difficult, but I can understand that there are people who are still struggling with, even if they have the other things right in place, IELTS is a struggle, definitely.
So all in all, it took 2 months. I think 2 months of revision. She revised the whole thing again and took that attempt in the month of December. That is why I think she was able to get it through.
Good enough. And I know it's a working day for you. We had that discussion. So any sort of final thoughts in terms of people who are doing it on their own? Maybe a guidance as to steps. What are the things that they should start off with? So just like people doing themselves, what should be the steps? Because as we discussed, there's ups and downs with this. You look at the score, it goes up, and then a lot of people don't understand if they should first do the IELTS, have achieved the result, the golden score, get the ECA done first. So just a brief as to what do you suggest should be the way forward for people doing themselves.
Personally, I feel that ECA and IELTS can be done simultaneously. ECA takes time, so about 2 months normally in any of the recognized institution by the IRCC. So it generally takes 2 months, and 2 months is what you need to prepare for IELTS as well. If you are thinking of getting it through in the first attempt itself, it will take a couple of months. Better to practice first, look out for your weaknesses, work on them, and then take IELTS instead of spending money. Because in our case, my advice is we have spent a lot of money. Beat that IELTS, beat that ECA report, any other petty expenses. So we have spent a lot of money in the whole process by doing it ourselves also. You should know which ECA body you should get your report done from, degree evaluated from. That is very important. Nobody guided us that for an MBA you should go for IQAS. I don't know, not for it may not be applicable to everyone who has done MBA, but for us it came as a surprise that we got through. We got the MBA masters as masters. So ECA report institution should be properly, you should research for it. IELTS you should prepare first and then take that attempt, because both these things is something related to your candidature which you have already done. If you know English, if you can speak English, then only you will be able to get through. Other than that, if you have the documentation in place, then after that ITA you just have to place them up. Both the things are in your hand. That's what I feel.
Fair enough. And you agree with that, Bhumika?
Totally. I mean, to be honest, I believe that my husband has got the best of organizing skills. So he had been always looking up to the next step. He was not preparing for what he is at the present, but he's always preparing for the next. So before even we have received our ITA, he has arranged almost 80% of the documents. He has folderized all the documents, and now only the things which are supposed to be done after we receive the ITA is what is pending. So I would suggest that if you're preparing for IELTS, if you're waiting for your result, you might give your best shot for your IELTS. After that, you know what is the next step. Review all the steps. You should be well prepared in advance as to what needs to be done next, and get everything arranged so that good amount of time and submit your application well in time whenever it's possible. So you do not technically have to utilize all 90 days that you get to collect and arrange and submit your documents. You could well in advance if your documents are right in place.
Correct. And you should not lose hope. If you are really keen to get this goal achieved, you should not
be some trouble with internet at your end, but that's thanks a lot for giving the time and sharing your journey for now. Definitely valuable for a lot of people, because you go online and there is so much. Like I'm an immigration professional. Even if I go online and I start just typing something in Google, there's a gazillion directions that I'd get, and at times I get confused that do I really know the law? Is this the right thing? Or, for people who are starting it for the first time, there's great sharing this information, because that gives hope to people that it's not something achievable. Yes, I keep repeating that many of us would want to move to Canada, migrate to Canada, but you have to work within the system. So first, with their story, I'd like to highlight that do your research, know what is the track, and then start focusing. Once you know that you're eligible, you are in that right range where you can succeed, it's effort then. And then, you might give it a shot. It might not work in the first instance. Then you reset the IELTS, you have your ECA done. Again, if you do the proper research, thorough research, you can save money and time. Just as in their case, went for an ECA, it didn't turn out well. Then had to, and this is the story with a lot of people. So, but then I'd also like to say that, I remember one of the early sessions where Arjun actually started attending, and he was more, should I have the accompanying spouse or non-accompanying spouse? The scores, because the scores had actually gone up so high, and then at that time it was only CEC specific applications. So all these things, you need to do your research, and then you need to see. I'm glad that for them, as a married couple, they've had the ITA as an accompanying spouse application. But see, there might be people who are losing points, and then they have to move on towards the track of non-accompanying spouse. Now, if you become rigid and you say that no, we are going to keep it as accompanying spouse, you might miss out on the opportunity. So you need to do this calculation, right? There's a lot of people who, because of age, might have missed the boat, and then they, in desperation, they knock at a lot of doors, and that's where a lot of times people would scam you. Myself being from Pakistan, this is pretty common in South Asia, where you'd go to these what we call as ghost consultants. You'll go and they'll say that, oh, you meet the eligibility. Now, eligibility, even if you're in your mid-40s, you meet the eligibility for FSWP, express entry, but that does not mean that you'll have invitation. And even if you have to get into express entry pool, there is a cost to it. See, even if it is just one ECA, there's a cost to it. Even if it is just one IELTS, there's a cost to it. There's a time cost to it. So it's very, very important to look at those factors. And the purpose was through Arjun and Bhumika sharing their story, their struggle. Hopefully they'll be submitting their documentation. And again, once they had the ITA, it's not really as easy peasy even after that. Now, all the documentation and stuff is fine, but a little difference in name here, a little difference in name there, and all of a sudden, so you have to again do a lot of research, be patient. Immigration is a bit of a ride where there's ups and downs. But if you want to end up being in a developed country like Canada, you have to make that struggle and that effort. So thanks again, both of you, for
Thank you
very much. Thanks, Shariq.
You were really a help. Since beginning, you were really a help to us, and I'm sure whatever I've learned from you in the past months, I'll be able to get it through. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'll once you submit your documentation and once we are very close to your PR submission, we'll be in touch. So I'll know that what updates are happening with your application. We'll have a discussion again then, and whenever we are in Canada, we'll have a session where the three of us are together here. I'll share a fun story, fun fact with all of you. And this is again apologizing to all of you who send in comments. So sometime in the past, Arjun actually sent a message actually a comment on our live comment section where he said that once I'm in Canada, we'll have and he sent that thrice. Now I try my best to look at these and answer, but technology, and I'm not a techie, just as with the probably it got missed, and Arjun was like, why is he not responding? So we had that laughter moment the other day. So sometimes I try my best to answer all of your questions. If I miss, no offense, but that's how it is with him. And there's a lot of people, and after this, I'd really appreciate if other people who are regular attendees of the session, and whichever stage you are at, you've got your PR, you've done your ECA. See, they've discussed about their ECA. Now there will be a lot of people from who graduated from same institutions, now they'll realize, or with similar education, that what is the best track for them. So anybody who's a regular attendee, who's a subscriber, just come forward, send in a comment, and I'll be happy to take you guys on the live session as well. So thank you for today. Now I'll move on to the comments and answering those, and we'll be in touch. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
So, folks, that was lovely, Mr. and Mrs. Arjun Mehta. And as I mentioned, my purpose through this this online in these live sessions, more specifically, it's a Sunday morning, and I'm actually taking this time off from my family time. I've not really been able to do a lot of videos, some personal issues, and I might not be able to do too many recorded videos. But this live session I will keep on doing, and the whole purpose is to provide a general guidance. Now, I must mention over here, a lot of people send in queries where these are very case-specific queries. I try not to get into that because first, I do not have the documentation and I don't want to do ill advising. I'm a licensed professional and I follow certain rules. And then those who would want to have case-specific consulting or advising, they have to use the paid services. But through this forum, I try and answer as much as I can. I will be inviting other people as well. And I'll try my best to invite people who are not my clients, because with the client, you have a different relationship, and that's people who've done it themselves or who are part of the process themselves. So anybody who's like that, you can come forward and I can have you in my session in the coming weeks. I'll move on towards the questions that we have. Cybertruck. Shariq bhai, assalamu alaikum salam. My question: if husband gets nominated by a province and spouse also gets a nomination, what and how to proceed? Please assist generally. The question is a little confusing. So one of you has a nomination by a province, and the other, and the wife has a nomination not by the province, right? See, if it is a nomination by the province, mostly in case of provinces, one spouse getting a nomination means both of you are getting the nomination. It's not different. It's in the case of FSWP, where you have the option of accompanying spouse and non-accompanying spouse. If the case is that one of the spouse has had a provincial nomination and the other has had a federal nomination, in that case, if the federal nomination is non-accompanying spouse, then you can definitely look at moving towards a provincial nomination, because then both of you will get the nomination in the province and then move to Canada, to that particular province. But keep in mind, it is going to take a little more time. If you go for the federal program and it is a non-accompanying spouse, ultimately for your family to be with you as well, like the secondary applicants, it's going to take time, because the main applicant will be awarded the PR first. They'll do the landing and then they'll submit the paper application, which is for spousal sponsorship. And that can take, in normal days, normal times, actually, pre-COVID, it used to take between 8 to 10 months. Now it's actually taking close to a year and a half. So you'll have to wait for that. Hope this answers. Cybertruck, you put in your question a couple of times. I would highly request that just put in once, and I'll definitely try and get to that. Aisha Hassan, hello Shariq. I have already done masters here. My question is, am I eligible for double masters in Canada, especially in public universities? Admission processing, you have to check with the universities. One thing that I can definitely say is that if you have a master's and then you're applying for a master's again, that at times does not go well with admission assessors as well as with immigration. You have to provide a reasoning as to why you're doing the second master's. So there has to be a proper reasoning. Now, for a lot of people from South Asia, they've done a 2 years bachelor's and then they've completed a 2 years master. Now that's equivalent to 16 years of education, which is 4 years bachelor's over here. If you're doing a master's after that, all the perfect reasons to do that. But if you already have a master's, which was after 4 years bachelor's, then you have to provide a reason. If you can provide the reasoning, like you might have done a master's in engineering because you're an engineer, and now you worked in the industry for a few years, and now you would want to do an MBA or maybe a master's in project management. Again, there is reasoning for it. You have to provide proper reasoning. You can do it. सना ठाकुर, सलाम भाई, कैसे हैं आप? वालेकुम अस्सलाम सना. Yes. Abdul Isa, I'm really sorry. I see your comment where you say you're not gonna answer our questions. No, I will. It was just that in the beginning I wanted to do that. Wait, I'll just. Okay, so we have a question from Sumit. What are the next steps after biometric submission? So this means that you've had your ITA and you submitted all your documents. Normally what happens is, and this is a general rundown for all of you. So once you submit your application, PR application, after ITA, you get what is called AOR, Acknowledgement of Receipt. So that's like your, and then they start looking at it. They will usually send you between about a week to 4 weeks time. This is the average time, and it can vary. They will ask you for biometrics. So you get an update in your account where you're asked to submit your biometrics. Once your biometrics are submitted, a lot of times your medical is done. The status of your medical is updated. And then it's a series of steps. So there is a basic eligibility. They'll look at the completeness of your application. There is a minimum eligibility check. There's background checks. And this goes through a few stages. Biometrics is just one piece. So medicals, biometrics, then your application's completeness check. After that is the minimum eligibility check for the program for which you were invited. And then the application moves towards scrutiny of your documentation. Documentation in terms of the CRS that you had, the score that you had, your submitted documents, do they correspond with that CRS claim, and are they in the right form as required by IRCC? So these are the steps that you would have, Sumit, after this. In your account, right now you might see a few of these phrases where it says we are reviewing your application, additional documentation, you do not need a medical, and this and this, background check. These will keep changing, and they'll actually, some of them will change multiple times. There is no real sequence to it. There is a sequence to it, but it's not that everybody will have the same pattern. It can vary. So you'll see those changes happening. If those changes are happening and you're not being requested anything else, that's all good. One of the things that I had discussed other day when I was discussing with Arjun and Bhumika about this particular session, and they asked that if they submit everything and there is no request for additional documents, how long does it take? Now, keep in mind that even if they are requesting additional document, that does not mean that there is something wrong with your application. At times, you have submitted that documentation, but they want that to be presented in a slightly different way because there is some concern. So it's not that if there is an additional document request, that is there's something wrong. So you could have those requests and it could still be all smooth sailing. I see a lot of people congratulating Arjun and Bhumika. So yeah, good on that, and hopefully we will celebrate their PR success through our online platform as well. Sumit has another question, which is, what's the current processing time for FSW candidates after the submission of all docs? Has IRCC increased the strength of its staff to process the PR applications? Currently, giving out any concrete time frame is not the right thing. You have your CIC account. You would have seen that they do indicate a progress bar, which is based on 6 months timeline from the time that you submitted your application. So they mention on that. Right now, most of the applications are taking about 6 months. Some are taking even beyond that. So do keep in mind that it will take about 5 to 6 months. Some applications have been processed in 3 to 4 months time as well. But as I said, the average right now is around 5 to 6 months. IRCC has not announced if they've increased the number of officers processing these cases, and there's no need for that right now. They've actually increased the number of cases, officers processing spousal sponsorship applications. Gurpreet, please tell me about the format of work experience letter of India for express entry. I'm in Canada. Indian work experience letter do not have mentioned full-time or no of hours per week. Do I need to change? So the work experience letter is a standard one. It's not specific to India or specific to Canada. You have to have the ingredients that are there. It should mention in some way as to what were your work hours, because now if it doesn't say that it was full-time or part-time, if it still says that what were your working hours, that's fine, but the officer has to have something to ascertain if it was full-time or part-time. If it can be mentioned on the offer letter, great. Experience letter, great. If your employer is not willing to do that, then you have to provide some other supporting documentation. Sumit, I have no clue for how many days IRCC will close its operations for Christmas holidays. A lot of processing can still go on, and it's keep in mind that FSWP applications, it's not just one office which is working on this. There can be multiple offices depending on your country of residence as well. These little things, the reason that I got Arjun and Bhumika on this, and one of the things that I keep mentioning to stay patient. Hopefully once you've submitted your application, everything will be fine and it will end up, but nobody can say. I would say that even if you write to IRCC, they can't say that what will be the outcome date for your application, because it's a excuse me, it's a bundle of papers that they have, and they have to scrutinize all of them. And one officer who's the main officer processing your application is not the only one involved in that. They have to send it to a lot of other associates of theirs. So they have to have verifications and confirmations from them. So just understand it, that it's going to take time. Like one officer might send it to another department for a security clearance. That department might have its own backlog. The officer over there might look at things in a different way. Now, until and unless there is a reply from that particular office, nothing can be done by the IRCC officer on this application. Stay patient. Anybody saying that this is going to be the date or time when your application is going to be finalized is making a complete bluff. Your application is in. You've sailed through a lot of your journey. You're just at the end. It might be today, it might be tomorrow. Just wait for that right time.
Mike, how much time does it take to get PR visa after submitting AOR? 80% of the applications should be processed in 6 months' time. It can take less than that. It can take more than that. Rajesh, what is the best way to job search for AIPP provinces? I am not a recruitment professional. I'm an immigration professional. Contact the employers. There's a list of designated employers. Contact them directly. Use LinkedIn Premier services. Those designated employers, you could always connect with their recruiters directly through LinkedIn Premier services, and that could be one of the ways. Rajesh, you have a couple of good questions wherein you're mentioning that your age is on the higher side in terms of express entry these days, and what are some good ways of job hunt. And so, see, I would say that it's not going to be easy finding job in Canada when you're not in Canada. But it's not impossible. I've had a lot of people. I've done a lot of clients who've had job offers and then they've come to me for further processing. So it's not that it's not possible. You can definitely land into a job, but it's going to be challenging. You need to, I would say, start focusing on connecting with employers directly. AIPP is a good option. RNIP, the Regional and Northern Immigrant Pilot Program, that's an option as well. British Columbia has their pilot program as well, and they have a tech pilot program for IT professionals. That's a good possibility. And what else? Province of Ontario, you have that option over here as well. So it's not that people are not able to find jobs and get a work permit and move on that track. It's definitely difficult. See, a lot of employers, they would want to hire somebody who's based here. That will save them time, that will save them cost as well, and they would have somebody in, say, 15, 20 days time to start working on that role. But people from outside of Canada are employed. So you'll have to, connecting with recruiters, look for Canadian licensed recruiters. Look for professional recruiters online. Look for the designated employers who employ people from outside and connect with them directly. That should be your best bet. Definitely, you can. Yukon, I would say that there is opportunity, but the number of spots that are there is very small. You could give it a try. AIPP might actually be a better option, but you can definitely give Yukon a try as well. Umair has a question: what is the normal time for STS application these days? Even for SDS, there is no timeline right now. I can tell you some of my own clients, their STS visas have been submitted, and it's quite a few months now, and we haven't received anything, not even the first stage approval. There's absolutely no timelines right now. Saima Khan, Saima is, sorry, Saim, I'm really sorry. Is it possible to change the province after PR? Yes, definitely you can. But keep in mind, as a requirement, it's more a moral obligation, but as a requirement for a PNP, you have to spend about 2 years time in that province. If you don't do it, it can have negative implications later on at sections at the time of citizenship. Facebook user. So can I eligible to apply for Canada My Education DAE? With only a DAE, you do not have strong chances for skilled migration. You might look at applying for study. Mariam, why is it taking too long for some students while for others it takes just few days under SDS? It's, as I said, it totally depends on each application. Each application is with a different assessor, and each application has its own merits and demerits, or strengths or weaknesses. So right now it is the focus. I can tell you that some immigration offices posts have mentioned that right now their focus is on spousal applications, on essential workers, and where there is a requirement for family reunification, such things. For students who can do online study, and they're allowed to do online study, and they will be allowed a postgraduate work permit on the basis of that time. That's not a high priority maybe right now. They're trying to prioritize applications. So right now it's giving out any timeline is not possible. So any application, as I already mentioned, even SDS is not taking 20 days. It's different for each application. What is your predicted cutoff score of upcoming EU draw? 9 December. What is the maximum time to submit the entire document? I heard it is 3 months due to COVID. Yes, 90 days. You get to have 90 days once you have the ITA to submit all the required documentation. Prediction. I used to do a lot of predictions in the past, but I've stopped doing that because there's a lot of fluctuation. I do expect if every 2 weeks, 5,000 people being invited, I do expect the scores to stay in 460s for most part from now onwards, if similar pattern is followed, like around 5,000 people being invited every 2 weeks. The scores will remain within 460s most likely. So right now it was 469 in the last draw, so it might be close to that. Similar, maybe a point higher than that or lower than that, but it might not shoot up into 470s, like high 470s, if the same trend follows. Sumit, you have a question that I have no answer on. The question is, why IRCC is not taking biometrics for FSW applicants in India? That's IRCC to make the policy decision. I don't have any news on that. Neither am I in a capacity to affect that. Excuse me. Madhya, walaikum salam. I'm confused about document attestation, metric FSC. All documents should be attested from HSC or just MSc, original degree, transcript, or copy? Madhya, I don't know which document specifically you have. Keep in mind, HEC, and this is for applicants from Pakistan, the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan. HEC can only attest university level qualifications. So HEC will not attest matriculation or FSC. That is supposed to be done by the relevant board or IBCC. So you have to check from them. Also, attestation, I don't know. Why are you asking about attestation? You are, for the purpose of ECA, you have to provide your highest qualification. So if you have an MS, which is 18 years, then you are only required to have your master's assessed or get an ECA for your master's. Now you can check with different ECA bodies. You can check with VES, you can check with ICOAS, you can check with ICAS as to what are their documentary requirements. VES, I can confirm now, does not, like, even if they ask you to submit your bachelor's and your master's from Pakistan, they do not require you to submit your high school, like your your intermediate and your matriculation documents. So your attestation should be for your university degrees, which is your HEC attestation. So because if you want to submit copies of your university degrees, you have to have them attested by HEC. So HEC will only attest the university qualification. Gurpreet Singh, so does the Indian work experience letter need to have mentioned all the job duties according to NOC level? As in my case, it only says I was electrical engineer. Yes, if you are claiming points for that, if you've nominated that as your profession, it has to have your job responsibilities. Hassan bin Iqbal, I am 30 years old, married, and will be 31 on 31st of May 2020. I have done BS and MS in software. I have 3+ years of industrial experience. My spouse is 26 and BS honors in 6 months. I wanted to immigrate to Canada. Can you please tell me my chances of expatriating and what else options I have? You are at the 30-31 years age mark, which is just the margin if you're looking at Express Entry, Federal Skilled Worker Program. From now onwards, you're losing points for age. I would suggest, because you have experience software engineering, so that means that you have experience of software development. Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program is an option for you as well, and they base their processing on Express Entry. So my advice, Hassan or Hussein, however you pronounce it, I think it is Hassan, to you is that start off with ECA, get ECA done for your qualifications, sit for IELTS, have the score of 8 in listening and 7 in all others. Once you have that, you can create your Express Entry profile, and that will put you in race for the Federal Skilled Worker Program as well as your Immigrant Nominee Program. They do nominate IT professions, professions like web developers, there's software developers, there are multimedia professionals. So you could definitely do that. Your wife, because she only has a bachelor's, BS, so she will not be able to gain a lot of points in terms of education. She, her age is on the right side, but then also she only has 6 months of experience. Maximum points you can get once you have 3 years of experience. SN, you're asking 467. As I said, that I can't predict like that. Express Entry, I do feel that it is going to be close to 469. I pray that you get invitation in your next in the next draw. Will 467 be possible or not? I absolutely have no clue on that. But as I said, I expect the scores to stay in 460s. And gradual drop as well, like 1 or 2 CRS points every now and then, if the pattern of the drop happening every 2 weeks and 5,000 people being invited continues. Samuel Naga, in non-SDS, medical request means visa? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because medical is a basic requirement. So you have to, these are 2 different things. Passport request would mean visa grant, but not medical. Medical is a part. See, God forbid, somebody might have all their visa processing as green. Everything could be fine. And again, I say, God forbid. And somebody might have an issue in medical. I repeat, God forbid. But I've seen instances where people have had some medical issue and the visa was rejected just because of that. So medical in itself is not a reason for anybody to believe that means visa grant. Perfect. So that's all the questions that we had for today. And now I will ask for leave. Thank you for joining the session. I would request all of you, those who are in the process, through comment section, you can send a message. The email address is there on the screen. You can send an email message. And I'd love to have other people join me for these sessions where they share about their experience, from which body did they have their ECA done, so that a lot of people who are doing it themselves, they can benefit from this. For those who have queries, You can always submit them. I'd greatly appreciate if more and more people can join in this live session that we do on the weekend, and you can ask your questions, and I'm happy to answer these. You can post your questions in the comment section, and I'll try my best to answer. Keep in mind, if it is a very case-specific thing, a lot of times the reason that we do not answer that is that we do not have the whole background, and that is ill-advising. As a professional, as an immigration law professional, we're not supposed to do that. But we'll try our best to answer in as detail as we can. For those of you who would want to use our services, we have our paid services. That's like the main profession that myself and my firm is in. You can book a consultation session. I mentioned this, and I get to have these consultation sessions regularly. People who've submitted their profiles, they've got an IT, and they have a query about specific documentations. They can book a consultation session. It is a 30-minute virtual session. You can go on my website, and there is the tab of book consultation session, wherein for 30 minutes we discuss your case in specific. You can discuss your documents. You can discuss your options as well. So a lot of people book the initial consultation where they talk about all their details, and we provide them advice as to which PNP options, other federal options they have a possibility for, or if there isn't much of a possibility, and then they can move on. They can start doing the process themselves, because then they know what should be their focus area. Or if they would want to use our services, they can decide if after that session, if they would want to do that. So for those who would want to discuss these options, definitely you can book a session. That's all for today. Take very good care of yourself and your families, wherever in the world you are, and we will catch up again next week through our session. Bye for now. Allah Hafiz.